Today, we will talk about inclusive leadership. The concept of inclusive leadership, though relatively recent, builds upon long-standing advice to leaders to address the challenges of diverse workforces. Scholars have emphasized the importance of integrating and supporting women and people of color since at least 1987. Diversity management has evolved to focus on leveraging diverse perspectives for organizational success, with inclusion now recognized as a crucial aspect. In recent years, inclusion has emerged as a key factor in maximizing the benefits of diversity in the workplace. However, scholarly work on inclusion has lacked a clear theoretical foundation and practical strategies for creating inclusive organizations, especially in terms of leadership roles. The demand for inclusive leadership has grown as leaders face increasing responsibilities in a global, complex marketplace. Leaders today are expected to navigate diverse environments, fostering collaboration, innovation, and learning across teams, organizations, and cultures. In this multifaceted setting, inclusive leadership involves valuing differences and integrating them into organizational strategies effectively. While organizational policies and practices provide a foundation, it is ultimately leaders who shape the culture and promote inclusion among their followers. This chapter delves into the nature of inclusive leadership, defining inclusion, exploring models, behaviors, outcomes, strengths, criticisms, development strategies, and showcasing case studies to evaluate inclusive leadership practices across various contexts. To understand the role of inclusion in diversity management, it is essential to define inclusion itself. Schutz in 1958 identified inclusion as a fundamental human need, suggesting that people experience less anxiety when their desire for group belonging aligns with how others include them. Leaders can foster inclusion by welcoming all followers while ensuring individual differences are maintained. In leadership studies, inclusive leadership is often seen as a relational approach focused on the interactions between leaders and followers. It emphasizes active consultation and shared decision-making rather than hierarchical direction. This approach encourages participation from all members, particularly those whose perspectives might otherwise be overlooked, making them feel valued within the organization. Inclusion also pertains to access to information, resources, and decision-making opportunities, allowing individuals from diverse social and cultural backgrounds to engage meaningfully in organizational processes. It stresses that diversity should not just be seen as an asset, but as a means for everyone to contribute to shared goals without losing their unique identities. Thus, inclusive leadership is crucial for fostering interpersonal relationships and ensuring fairness and attentiveness to followers' needs. Brewer's optimal distinctiveness theory connects inclusion to the need for individuals to balance their desire for belonging to social groups with their need to maintain a unique self-concept. Inclusion involves feeling like a valued member of a group while preserving one's individuality. Shaw and colleagues in 2011 define inclusion as the extent to which employees perceive themselves as esteemed members of their workgroup, satisfying their needs for both belonging and uniqueness. Their inclusion framework identifies 4 outcomes based on the interplay of belongingness and uniqueness. 1. Exclusion: low belongingness, low uniqueness. Individuals feel neither part of the group nor valued. For instance, a young female vice president whose ideas are dismissed by male colleagues exemplifies exclusion. 2. Differentiation: low belongingness, High uniqueness. Individuals feel respected for their uniqueness but excluded from the in-group. An example is Spanish-speaking representatives in a customer service center who are not consulted on relevant issues. 3. Assimilation. High belongingness, low uniqueness. Individuals feel included, but their unique characteristics are not valued. For example, a Jewish student who is accepted socially but criticized for missing meetings on religious holidays experiences assimilation. 4. Inclusion. High belongingness, high uniqueness. Individuals feel both accepted and valued for their unique identities. This is the ideal scenario where differences are embraced without requiring individuals to conform to dominant norms. An example is a professor who adapts course participation methods to accommodate a hearing-impaired student, ensuring all voices are heard. Inclusion represents the best approach to diversity, recognizing and valuing individual differences while fostering a sense of belonging. Conceptualizing inclusion through the integration of belonging and uniqueness is crucial for addressing inclusion effectively. This framework highlights how an individual's sense of connectedness and individuality interacts within an organization's values, policies, and practices, influenced by leaders and colleagues. Research indicates that leaders play a pivotal role in fostering inclusion by creating environments where employees feel valued and can fully contribute their perspectives and talents. Inclusive leadership is characterized by three main goals: creating shared identity, fostering a sense of belonging among all group members, reducing status differences, ensuring respectful treatment of every individual, facilitating participation, encouraging equal voice and involvement in decision-making processes. These goals emphasize the importance of inclusive leaders in cultivating a supportive and collaborative organizational culture. Inclusive leadership, unlike many other leadership approaches discussed, has not received extensive research attention nor been clearly organized around a unified theme or framework. This section introduces a working theoretical model of inclusive leadership, detailing the factors influencing inclusive leader behaviors and their outcomes. The model of inclusive leadership comprises three main components: antecedent conditions, behaviors, and outcomes. Each component includes various subcomponents that collectively elucidate inclusive leadership. The first component focuses on antecedent conditions, which are factors preceding the development and utilization of inclusive behaviors by leaders. These factors can be leader characteristics, group cognitions, or organizational policies and practices. A leader has three characteristics: pro-diversity beliefs, cognitive complexity, and personality factors. Pro-diversity beliefs. Leaders who perceive diversity as beneficial and view individual differences as strengths are more likely to engage in inclusive leadership. For instance, a CEO overseeing after-school programs for marginalized youth values diverse perspectives on the board of directors to enhance decision-making. Cognitive complexity. Leaders with high cognitive complexity can analyze situations from various perspectives, recognizing and incorporating member differences into work processes effectively. They encourage diverse approaches and thinking styles. Personality factors. Traits like agreeableness and openness to experience influence a leader's diversity orientation and performance. Leaders who value individual identities while emphasizing group goals are more inclined to exhibit inclusive leadership behaviors, Research indicates that group diversity cognitions significantly impact inclusive leadership. Individuals who believe in the value of diversity and hold multicultural beliefs are more likely to leverage diversity within groups, enhancing engagement among underrepresented members. Groups with positive diversity cognitions see differences in perspectives and experiences as beneficial to overall performance. Additionally, the psychological climate of an organization, encompassing perceptions of its values and human resource policies, affects inclusive leadership. For example, a strong climate for diversity results when an organization not only promotes diversity in its policies but actively enforces them, such as maintaining a zero-tolerance approach to harassment. When members perceive a genuine commitment to diversity, it positively influences their intentions and behaviors related to diversity initiatives. In fact, beliefs and attitudes that support recognizing and incorporating diversity into organizational work enhance a leader's ability to practice inclusive leadership. Research indicates that an organization's policies and practices can serve as a motivating factor for inclusive leadership. Certain sets of practices have been identified to promote employee participation and harness the benefits of diversity within organizations. Examples include initiatives such as diversity among all stakeholder groups, fair treatment programs, collaborative work arrangements, and effective conflict resolution processes, which contribute to creating inclusive organizational environments. Studies emphasize the significance of fairly implemented employment practices and diversity-specific initiatives in combating bias and establishing positive climates for diversity and inclusion. For instance, ensuring that job applicants undergo interviews with multiple interviewers who ask standardized, job-related questions can help eliminate bias in the hiring process. Practices that focus on valuing and integrating diverse perspectives and approaches into organizational processes are more likely to facilitate inclusive leadership within an organization. The second component of the model of inclusive leadership focuses on specific leader behaviors that facilitate inclusive leadership. Foundational research by Edmondson in 1996 and 2003 emphasized the importance of creating psychologically safe environments in teams, particularly in healthcare settings. Leaders who actively invite input and acknowledge all team members, regardless of their status, help foster psychological safety, allowing individuals to engage without fear of negative repercussions. Nembhard and Edmondson in 2006 defined leader inclusiveness as the behaviors that encourage participation from those who might typically be excluded from discussions. Inclusive leadership is especially important in contexts with power imbalances, where some members may hesitate to express their views. Edmondson in 2004 proposed additional behaviors for inclusive leaders, such as being accessible to followers, which helps create an approachable climate. Leaders who model inclusive behaviors by inviting input and sharing decision-making responsibilities contribute to a culture of trust and learning. In fact, inclusive leadership behaviors are seen as essential for fostering a sense of belonging and appreciation for individual uniqueness within teams. The model of inclusive leadership outlines several positive organizational outcomes resulting from effective inclusive leadership. Research indicates that leader inclusiveness helps low-status individuals feel supported and valued, leading to higher levels of psychological safety and work engagement. This supportive environment also contributes to employee well-being, fostering positive emotional states and quality relationships. Inclusive leadership enhances follower creativity and innovative behavior by encouraging openness to new ideas and feedback. When followers feel comfortable sharing alternative perspectives, they are more motivated to engage in innovative activities. Moreover, inclusive leadership interacts with positive diversity climates to promote helping behaviors among team members. Feelings of psychological safety, stemming from inclusive leadership, enable followers to learn from mistakes and experiment with new approaches, ultimately improving work processes. Consequently, inclusive leadership positively impacts overall unit performance. Ultimately, the model emphasizes the interplay between leader, group, and organizational characteristics that influence inclusive behaviors and the resultant positive outcomes for individuals and teams, including enhanced emotional well-being and performance. Okay, now the question we need to answer is, how does inclusive leadership work? Inclusive leadership theory combines insights from leadership and diversity research, emphasizing several core elements. First, it fosters a shared identity among group members, where leaders communicate each individual's value, helping everyone feel included in the in-group. This sense of belonging enhances group cohesion and encourages participation. Another critical aspect of inclusive leadership is the reduction of status differences within teams. Inclusive leaders actively solicit diverse viewpoints, especially from those whose contributions may be overlooked in decision-making processes. By being approachable and minimizing barriers to interaction, they work to eliminate cliques and foster a more open environment. Equity and justice are also fundamental to inclusive leadership. Leaders take actions to ensure fair treatment within the group, addressing biases and promoting an equal voice for all members. This focus on inclusiveness helps create a culture where every individual's contributions are valued. Finally, inclusive leadership prioritizes follower participation. It encourages active involvement in decision-making, ensuring that all members have a say in how the group operates. By recognizing and valuing each member's unique contributions, inclusive leaders empower their teams and promote collaborative success. In this chapter, a working model of inclusive leadership is presented, drawing from literature on diversity and inclusion. This model highlights three key strengths. First, inclusive leadership prioritizes the involvement and engagement of all group members. It aims to foster an organizational environment where everyone, especially those from historically marginalized groups, feels a sense of belonging and is valued for their unique contributions. Second, inclusive leadership aligns with and enhances relational leadership theories, such as leader-member exchange and transformational leadership. All these theories emphasize the importance of building positive relationships with followers, recognizing their individual strengths, and cultivating a supportive organizational atmosphere. Lastly, inclusive leadership is viewed as a shared responsibility among all group members. This approach reflects emerging paradigms that see leadership as a collective and socially constructed phenomenon. Consequently, creating an inclusive environment is not the sole responsibility of one person. Rather, every member plays a vital role in fostering inclusivity, benefiting both the individual and the organization as a whole. Despite existing literature on inclusive leadership, several limitations hinder a comprehensive understanding of its core elements. First, inclusive leadership has often been treated as a broad construct, conflating it with various leadership styles such as transformational, charismatic, and servant leadership. This overlap complicates the identification of unique antecedents and outcomes associated specifically with inclusive leadership. Second, measuring inclusive leadership poses challenges. Many studies rely on employee ratings of their direct managers, which may not reflect the diverse experiences of all group members. This can lead to a situation where leaders are perceived as inclusive based on ratings from only a subset of their team, underscoring the need for more nuanced measurement tools that capture the full range of experiences within the group. Lastly, while core components of inclusive leadership have been identified, few studies have reconciled these components across the leadership and diversity literatures. Although a model of inclusive leadership has been proposed, further empirical research is required to explore the relationships between antecedent conditions, leadership behaviors, and outcomes. Specifically, it is essential to determine which leadership behaviors are most effective in fostering an inclusive environment, as different studies emphasize varying aspects of inclusiveness, such as inviting contributions or promoting a sense of belonging. More targeted research is needed to connect specific behaviors to their outcomes effectively. Inclusive leadership, defined by specific behaviors, can be learned and developed, yet there is limited understanding of the skills and competencies needed for this development. Boyson in 2014 highlights that transitioning to inclusive leadership involves moving from traditional power dynamics, focused on control and hierarchy, to a more distributed approach that empowers followers. Instead of using a direct, tell, and sell method, inclusive leaders foster dialogue and cultivate a sense of collective identity, emphasizing we and all over me, us, and them. They actively pursue and value the diverse capabilities, viewpoints, and opinions of their team members. Developing inclusive leadership requires a mindset shift, changes in values, and a new style of interaction. The Assessment Challenge Support ACS model, developed by scholars at the Center for Creative Leadership, outlines the three critical elements of leadership development: assessment, challenge, and support. While this model is well researched in general leadership contexts, it has not yet been specifically applied to inclusive leadership. The following sections will explore how each element of the ACS model can be related to the development of inclusive leadership, providing relevant examples for each component. Leadership development typically begins with assessment, involving an evaluation of strengths and areas for growth in fostering an inclusive organizational culture. This process includes reflecting on one's identity, biases, stereotypes, privilege, and experiences of exclusion. Leaders should consider their memberships in various social groups to gain insight into entitlement, privilege, and the creation of inclusive environments. Identity work activities, such as listing social identities and reflecting on their impact, can aid in this assessment. Completing privilege worksheets, like the White Privilege Checklist by Peggy McIntosh, can also help individuals recognize their privileges and biases. Acknowledging biases and privilege is crucial for mitigating their impact and improving interactions with others. Organizations often provide diversity training to help leaders uncover implicit biases and understand their influence on decision-making. Tools like the implicit association test and assessments of personal attitudes and organizational diversity support can assist leaders in understanding their assumptions about others and promoting more inclusive decision-making processes. Self-awareness of diversity-related attitudes is crucial for becoming an inclusive leader, but understanding one's behavioral skills is equally important. The next step in developing an inclusive leadership style involves identifying gaps in competencies related to diversity and inclusion and formulating an action plan to address these needs. Following the ACS model, this feedback process helps leaders recognize challenges and motivates them to enhance their skills for creating inclusive environments. Effective communication is essential for inclusive leadership, requiring leaders to listen to diverse viewpoints and facilitate interactions among different groups. Leaders can practice these skills in team meetings by encouraging open discussion and using techniques like the nominal group technique to ensure all voices are heard. Adapting traditional leadership strategies to embrace inclusiveness often requires leaders to step outside their comfort zones. Embracing these challenges is necessary for leaders to build confidence and improve their ability to foster inclusion within their organizations. Leaders face challenges that push them to adopt new approaches, making support essential for their success in becoming inclusive. This support includes having a robust infrastructure and relationships that reinforce learned behaviors, as highlighted by the ACS model. Colleagues, mentors, and significant others can provide valuable feedback and encouragement as leaders navigate the complexities of inclusive leadership. Organizations also play a crucial role in supporting leaders by establishing accountability structures, diversity councils, and clear diversity and inclusion strategies. Policies promoting zero tolerance for discrimination further enhance the climate for diversity. Additionally, coaching and mentoring are integral to many leadership development programs, helping leaders take personal accountability for fostering diverse and inclusive workplaces.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to channel.